So welcome everyone, welcome to this Learn MVC 6 training, or you can say MVC 1.0 core. That is a new name given to MVC 6 by Microsoft. So welcome to this 2 hours of training, and in this 2 hours of training we will try to understand what is new in MVC 1.0 core or MVC 6, and what should we look into, and what is the roadmap of Microsoft ahead. Now before I start this training, let me clarify that how the whole versioning system is working at this moment, because you can see that in the market a lot of people are saying .NET 1.0 core, then somebody says .NET 5.0, then somebody says .NET on Linux, and someone says MVC 6, someone says MVC core, someone says ASP.NET core, someone says ASP.V Next, and whatnot. So let me explain you that what all these names means, and what should we look into ahead. So till now we have our normal .NET framework, that is the framework which started from 1.0, 1.1, 2.0, blah blah blah. It came till 3.5, 4.0, 4.5, 4.6. So this is our normal .NET framework, which we have been working till now. And on the top of it, side by side, ASP.NET frameworks were released. So we had ASP 2.0, then 3.0, 3.5, blah blah blah, till ASP.NET 4.5, if I'm not wrong. And side by side on the top of it, MVC was developing as well. So we had MVC 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is the normal stack on which you guys are working currently, right? Now Microsoft thought about going through a major shift into .NET framework. So this major change I will talk about in the coming part of the video. So the .NET framework went through a major change. So they named this new framework as .NET 5.0 first, and on the top of it, what was developed was ASP 5.0, and on the top of it we had MVC 6. So that was the intermediate thing which happened some months back, some years back. When I say some years, means not really years, but like 1 year back. But what happened is, this 5.0 framework was so different. There were so many big changes in that, which I will talk in the coming part of the video, that they have to name this framework or version this framework as .NET 1.0 core. So this is like literally a fresh start, right? So they renamed this framework as .NET 1.0 core. On the top of it, what is built is your ASP.NET 1.0 core, and then definitely it is MVC core, MVC 1.0 core. And also what I feel is that MVC is the architecture, right? The framework is ASP.NET. So you can see I have Visual Studio 2015. Nowhere they are saying like MVC 6 or something, right? So this is ASP.NET core, and in this ASP.NET core, Webform is gone out. So I don't see any. When I do OK, I don't see any Webform dialog box. So you can see that we have this is your MVC, this is your web API, and that is an empty project. So I don't see any Webform in this. So that means that in the new core, the Webform is gone. So basically what I feel is that it is now understood that if you're doing ASP.NET, you are doing MVC. Okay, I again repeat, if you're doing ASP.NET, that means MVC is the architecture which is for ASP.NET. So that's why you will see that they are not saying here like MVC, they are saying web API and web application, right? So the complete framework is now renamed to 1.0 core. So your ASP.NET now becomes ASP 1.0 core, and your MVC is no more like MVC 6, it is MVC core. Now this renaming of the versions, sends out a lot of messages from Microsoft to us. What I mean is, for example, when Microsoft migrated from like 2.0 to 3.0 to 3.5, see, whenever there is a major version change, for example, if you change from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, that means, that yes, some big things are introduced, some things are removed, there are API changes. When you have minor changes, for example, when you go from 3.5 to, for example, when you go from 4.0 to 4.5, so this is just a minor version change, right? So in this kind of things, again, small things change, right? But here, we have a situation, where they are saying that we are starting from 1.0 core. So that means a lot of things have changed over here, right? So what my suggestion would be that this whole change is happening for past 1.5 years, 2 years. So watch it, do small POCs around it, but I would say that do not use for serious development projects. So wait for 1 or 2 years more, let the framework become strong, let it become mature, because I cannot compare this new 1.0 framework with a 10 years of framework or 12 years of framework what we have previously. Okay, so this video, what I'm now going to talk about, or whatever I'm going to speak in this video, is only for training purpose. So this training video is only for training purpose. So I would suggest that serious projects, enterprise projects, projects, which are, where client is putting a lot of money, I would say that avoid this new core at this moment. Wait for some more iterations and then do small POCs, get confidence, and then go ahead with the new framework. But till then, yes, do MVC 5, do Angular, do Entity Framework, your old one, MVC 5, Angular 1.x, Entity Framework 6, your SQL Server, your old .NET, go ahead, do good projects with that, and let this framework get stabilized, because the vision of this framework, this new framework, is very good, to run on cross-platform, to run on Linux, to run on Unix. So for that, definitely, we need to give Microsoft 2 to 3 years opportunity to come out with a good framework, right? So I agree to that this change is a good change. But till then, putting this on serious projects, I will not do it. Right. So with all that in mind, let us go and start with the MVC 6 training. So if you are going for a serious project, I will say stick to MVC 5. That means this one. You can see at the top there is a menu. This thing here is your MVC 5. So if you go and click on this, this is your old ASP.NET, like MVC, Web API, you have web form code behind and all that, right? This one here is your new one. These both ones, .NET Core and .NET Frameworks, are new ones, right? So if you're using this, that means you are using the new .NET Core, you are using the new MVC Core, you are using the new ASP.NET Core, right? So this is the stable one, this is the new one, stable one, new one. So that also means that if I want to understand ASP.NET Core and MVC Core properly, I need to first understand the .NET Core properly. I need to understand how .NET Core works internally, what has changed, right? So this training is divided into two parts. The first 1 hour of the training will talk about .NET Core, DNX, DNU, DNVM, etc. And the next part of the training will talk about the MVC Core or the MVC 6, right? So what we'll do is, for the first 50 minutes, 60 minutes or 1 hour, we will first learn about .NET Core, how it works, how it compiles, how the development environment is, and then we will go to the new thing, that is the ASP.NET thing. So first with .NET Core, and then the next with MVC Core or MVC 6. The first question which will come to your mind is that, at least as a .NET developer, which came to my mind is that basically everything was going good. I had .NET, I had ASP.NET on the top of it. Then I had Windows framework like WPF and Windows. On the top of ASP.NET, I have MVC, I have Webforms. So I was creating applications, I was building, and I was happy, right? And I am happy actually. So why a new kind of a framework, and what is happening over there? All of this happiness between all the .NET developers was only limited to Windows operating system. When we create any application in .NET, it can run only on Windows. I agree that it can run on Windows Server, it can run on Windows XP, it can run on Windows 7, but at the end of the day, it was only confined to the Windows family. And also I would like to bring to notice that yes, there were some parallel open source frameworks like Mono, which was running, and which helped to port .NET code into Linux and other operating systems. So by using the Mono framework, you can run .NET code on other operating system. But because probably Mono was not coming from the main Microsoft company, so developers were not really keen in using it or keen in utilizing it, right? So Mono was there, but if you see, hardly it was used. I know that it was used it is used very heavily in Xamarin, but if you look overall, people want to create business applications, you will not find a lot of people using Mono, right? So even though there was some open source framework, but it did not pick up because it did not have the Microsoft brand attached to it. But to be very frank, this was never a concern because most of the business users and end users were using Windows, and .NET can run on Windows, so everything was okay, right? But with the launch of mobile, new operating systems like Android and iOS came into picture, and these OSs were used heavily by business users and retail users. So now I do not want to lose business of that section, right? So I want my .NET code to run on Android. I want my .NET code to run on iOS. In short, as a long-term solution, I want my .NET code to run everywhere, right? So my .NET, which for past 15 years, which has been running on Windows, now suddenly I want him to run on all hardwares, on all operating system. And that's what exactly .NET Core promises. .NET Core says that I will take your old .NET framework and I will make this run on Linux, I will make this run on Unix, and so on, right? But in order to achieve this dream of running on all platform, definitely we have to rework on this 15 years old framework, right? Because this 15 years old framework was never thought to run on Unix or Linux or any other platform. It was only thought to run on Windows. So because of that, we have a lot of dependencies of this framework only on Windows. So the first thing, logically, what I see is over here is that, this .NET framework, if they can take the core part of the .NET framework, when I say core means .NET Core, when we look at the .NET framework as a whole, there are two things in the core. One is your CLR, CTS, code access security, your garbage collector, your JIT, right? So they have to first take the core CLR and compile it for Unix, compile it for Windows, compile it for Linux, and so on. So basically they have to take this core, start from the core first, and compile different setups for each one of these platforms. So that is the first step. So what they did is they took this .NET framework, they extracted the core code of this. Core code means only the code which is related to garbage collector, CLR, CTS, code access security, and those kind of things, JIT, etc. And they went to GitHub, and on GitHub, they created a repository here, you can see, called as a core CLR. This core CLR, as you can see, it says that it has only the base things, the core things, that is garbage collector, JIT, and your data types, and etc. Right? So they took this core CLR and they compiled for every platform. So for every platform, they created different bits over here. So you can see that we have CentOS, we have Debian, we have Red Hat, we have OS X, we have Windows, and so on. So they went ahead and they put they compiled as per the OS different setups, right, for each one of them. So that is the first step. So because you can't start from everything, right? You have to first start from the base. So they took this core and they compiled different setups for this. Now in .NET Core, again, there is the core thing, and then there are core libraries like system collection, your system string, and so on, right? So for that, they created something called as a core FX. So the foundation library is what we term it as, like the file reading, the console, and etc. They put it into core FX. So again, if you look at core FX, basically again in this core FX, you can see that there are different setups created for all the OS. So in short, the complete .NET Core, the .NET framework, is now migrated, or I'll say is now ported in such a way that you can take this .NET bits and you can run on Linux, you can run on Unix, you can run on other operating system, right? So this was the first step, and they have already done it. They have made it open source, they have put it on GitHub, and everything is good for us. So the base thing is done, but then this is not the end, right? We need a lot of things more. The next thing, what we need is, we need the power to develop on any platform. Means one is that, okay, we have received the power to run on any platform. So we create an application and we can run on any platform. But as a developer, we also want to develop on any platform. Now, one of the questions which can come to your mind is that why do we need to develop cross-platform? What is the benefit of it? For example, C# guys, .NET guys can stick to Windows. They can install Visual Studio. They will create the setup and put it in their operating system. Why do we need to develop on Linux or Mac or on other operating systems? Now, some of the operating system, for example, the Mac operating systems, over there, legally, you need to develop on their platform. So if you're creating applications for their platform, for example, iOS, then you need a Mac for it. That means that your Visual Studio should also run on Mac. So the second step, now what we want is, we want to also develop on any platform to really run anywhere. Now, the first problem for developing on any platform is that the most used development tool by the Microsoft guys are Visual Studio, and Visual Studio runs only on Windows. So Visual Studio is out of question. Visual Studio is a Windows software. It runs only on Windows. And now here we are with a problem where we say that we should be able to develop on any platform. And the second benefit of allowing people to develop on other platform is that tomorrow if a Java guy or if a JavaScript guy wants to use .NET, right, he should be able to use it. So he's on Linux and he says that, okay, I want to program using the .NET framework. So he should have some kind of environment, where he can download this framework, he can compile them, he can see the output and so on, right? So the second thing what we need to do is we need to now provide an infrastructure which can take this .NET framework and do the compiling part, do the referencing part and so on. So Visual Studio is out of question. And that's where, Microsoft has given three things, DNVM, DNX and DNU. So now let us try to analyze that how DNX, DNU and DNVM can help me to do cross-platform development. So we have the cross-platform execution environments. That means the cross-platform frameworks of .NET, we already have it. Now we need the environment for cross-platform development. So we are on the second phase. The first thing what I need is, desperately what I need is, I need a manager. I need a manager which will help me tell that, you have these frameworks installed in your computer. This is your latest framework. The manager should also help me to get the latest frameworks, upgrade the latest frameworks and so on. So the first thing is I need a manager, which will help me to manage all these frameworks, because let us say that I'm developing on this operating system. Like, let's say currently I'm on Windows at this moment, and on this operating system, if I want to go and do development, so that should be a way, by where I can say that, okay, show me all .NET frameworks installed, right? So when I say like this, it will not show me like this, okay? I want that the manager should go and display, okay, so here it is, you have Red Hat, you have Fedora, you have Windows, you have 1.x Core, you have 1.x 6.81. So I need the list of frameworks, what is installed. And second, I would also like to have a utility, which will tell me that get latest framework, right? So I need some kind of a utility, by which I can get the latest frameworks, by which I can upgrade. And that's where we have the first person from those three things, DNVM, the .NET Version Manager. So what you can do is, to get DNVM, just go to the command line utility of the respective operating system. For example, I am at this moment on Windows. So go to Windows and run this PowerShell command. So open PowerShell. So remember that PowerShell is a Windows command line utility. In the same way, for Linux and other operating system, they have their own command line utility. So over there, you need to go and figure out the command line utility. But over here in Windows, I'm going to go and use PowerShell, and I will go and fire this standard PowerShell command. Now, one very important thing to remember here is, please upgrade your PowerShell to PowerShell 4.0 and above, right? In case you are using an old PowerShell, then this demo will not work. And second, please ensure that you have an internet connection and you do not have any kind of proxy or antivirus enabled, because if you have antivirus enabled, then getting all these frameworks from GitHub becomes difficult. So I'm going to go here and fire this command here. This command says that go to GitHub user content and install DNVM, right? This PS1 is the PowerShell file, right? So it's going to go and download the PS1 file and then run it. So I'm going to go and say enter. So there it is. You can see now it is going online and it will download the .NET version manager, you can see, and it will install DNVM in my computer. So there it is. It installs the DNVM and everything great. Okay. Right. So let me come out of PowerShell. Let me just exit from PowerShell. So now what I can do is I can go and say DNVM, right? If I say DNVM, and remember that this is the first time I'm doing in my computer. So the DNVM goes online and it says that you do not have any runtimes installed. So it says that you do not have any one of these runtimes in your computer. So do you want to go and install the latest one? I'll say yes, please go and install the latest one. So now what it does is it goes online, it determines, whatever is the latest .NET 1.0 core and downloads and starts downloading it. You can see that the downloading is going on. Now, one of the things I would like to bring to notice over here is that the .NET core is never actually installed, technically installed into your computer. It is actually copied. If you look at your old .NET framework, a lot of DLLs are installed into GAC, right? Now this global assembly cache is very much proprietary to Windows. You don't have any kind of GAC in Unix or Linux, right? So if you see, all the .NET 1.0 core actually gets copied to a folder, okay? So the first thing is there is no GAC in .NET 1.0 core because there is no GAC in Windows, Linux, there is no GAC in Unix and Mac, right? So now that you can see it has downloaded the latest version. It is, I think, 1.0.0 RC1 update 2. So that is the latest core version, right? .NET 1.0 core. It goes and it installs into your C users login. For example, at this moment, I am logged in by using the user. So I'm logged in by the name user. Okay. So in this, you can see that there is a folder created called as DNX. So if you go into this folder in the runtime, you will see that he has installed the latest .NET 1.0.0 core, right? In a computer, if I want to go and query, that what are the versions installed, I can just say a DNVM and I can say list. So at this moment, in this computer, I just have only one framework. So 1.0.0 RC update 2, and that is right. Okay. Also, there are a couple of other commands. I will not go into detail of it, but if you just run DNVM, you will get the list of commands. What you can run. For example, you can see there's an install command here. So you can say a DNVM install latest, right? So if you do this, it will try to install the latest version. What I understand is because I just ran DNVM for the first time, my PC already has the latest version. So let us see. Probably it will just say me that you already have the latest version. So you can see that it says the latest version is update 2 and you already have it. Okay, great. Also, if you wish to go and install the unstable version, sometimes you would like to just go and install the unstable version to just do beta testing, etc. So you can go and say DNVM install, or I'll say upgrade unstable, right? So let me look at the command -u. Yeah, right. So there it is. You can see that I'm saying DNVM upgrade -u, and I think that it will just go and get an unstable version if there is any. Okay. At this moment, when I did an install, I am seeing here RC1. it is possible that you will see something else. Okay, so I'm seeing at this moment 1.0, you will see probably 2.0. So in case you are seeing this video after, let us say 5-6 years, I don't know, a lot of things would have changed, right? But whatever it is, the whole process would remain same. You can see that now I have got an error here, and it is because of my antivirus. Okay, so as I've said previously, that ensure that you disable your antivirus. So I'm going to go and disable my antivirus for now. Right, I'll say turn on after 30 minutes. So let me again try dnvm upgrade -u. So in case you are getting such kind of a thing saying that there is an error or something, first thing is look at your antivirus, look at your internet connection, and so on. Sorry for this. So you can see that now it is actually upgrading. So that means that there is a unstable version as well. So must be that there is RC1 and there is probably RC2, right? So let us see. Oh, there it is. You can see it says RC2. So there is RC2. So once this gets installed over here, again a folder will be created, and there it is. You can see, right? And now if I do a query, so now if I go and do a query saying dnvm list, I should see that my PC has 2 versions. So let us do that, and there it is. So you can see that it says now that your computer has 2 .NET Core versions. One is the 1.0.0 RC2, which is unstable, and the other one is 1.0.0 RC1, which is stable. And he also says that what is the active version. You can see that the active version at this moment is this one, RC2. So in case you want to go and make it default, you can say if you want to go and make the stable version default, again there is a command saying dnvm use and the number, right? So basically this dnvm is nothing but your .NET version manager, which will help you to see what kind of .NET frameworks are currently copied in your computer. It helps you to go and install the latest one. It helps you to go and upgrade the latest one. So the first part of thing is there, a manager which will help me to manage my .NET frameworks in my development environment. So I have that. So now the second thing is, once I have this, the second thing is I need to have a .NET code. I need to have some kind of a .NET code which will which I want to go and compile, right? So let us go and open Notepad, and let us go and start writing some code, and let us see that how the compilation process and the execution process takes place. Remember, again I'm repeating, at this moment the demo which I'm showing here is without Visual Studio. So assume that you are on Unix, you are on Linux, you are on Mac, and you are supposed to use this .NET Core. How do you go about it, right? Right, so let me go and just say hello world. So I'll say using system. Definitely Visual Studio is a better way to do things, but at this moment let me just go and type things here. So public namespace. So rather than me going and typing the program out, let me just go and copy paste this. Okay, so this is our favorite hello world from Visual Studio, right, in a Notepad, and I'm going to go and save this in a folder. So let us go and create a folder. So must be, I can just go and create a folder in my E drive. So I'll just say folder, this is core, .NET Core, right, .NET Core code. Okay, so let us go and say that this is program.cs. Great. So now the next step is we need to go and compile this project. Now, in order to go and compile this project, we need to first go and define the references, right? So we need to go and say that this project will use which reference, this project will use which framework. Is it going to use is it going to use RC1? Is it going to use RC2? So basically we need to go and define somewhere which references we want this program to use. Now, if you go back to your Visual Studio, if you go back to your old way of programming, we used to provide these references over here. So if whatever references are needed for the project, they are actually added over here. So we do add reference and we provide the references. And these references actually get stored into the chproj file. So this project file, which is a complicated XML file, and it is compiled by using MS Build. It has the references, so whatever we add references to the Visual Studio project actually gets registered into this XML. Now if we go the XML route, so in our new environment, if we use this format, then it would be very difficult for other people to read this format, because this format is so complicated. You can see over here, this format is understood only by Visual Studio, that's it, and no one else. It's only understood by Visual Studio, it is understood by MS Build. But now, if we say that we want to do cross-platform development, then we need to keep our format very, very simple. Like, simple when I say probably into a simple text file or into a simple JSON file, right? So what they have done over here is in the new system of .NET Core, they said that whatever references you want to define for your code, define in a file called as project.json. So let us go ahead and create a project.json file. So in the project.json, now what I will do is I will do the following. So I will say that let me see, I already have a format here. There it is. So you can see that this is the most simplest project.json file I can ever write. So in this project.json file, what I'm saying is that this program over here, which is there, this console application, will use the 4.5 framework. The 4.5 framework means the full-fledged old .NET desktop framework. I'm not talking about Core, right, at this moment. We will come to Core, but at this moment I'm not talking about Core. So you can see that it is a very simple JSON format, and in this, at this moment, I have just included one framework, that is the 4.5.1, right? So let me go and save this. So I'll say File, Save As, and let me just save it here as project.json, right? Great. So you can see here, I have the source code file here, program.cs, and all the references are in project.json, right? So let us go back to our command prompt. Now I said that we are referring to the old .NET framework. Again, I repeat, I said that at this moment my program will use the old .NET framework, right? If you see the new .NET framework, whichever I have downloaded, they are with the version 1.0. So it is 1.0 core, RC1 update 2, 1.0 core, RC2 update, right? RC2. But here I'm saying DNX for 4.5.1, right? So the next question comes is that in my folder, I do not see any runtime which is related to .NET 4.5, right? And why is it not? Because the .NET 4.5 is installed into GAC. Remember that DNVM, your DNVM system, your DNU system, your DNX system does not install the old .NET framework. If you want to install the old .NET framework, you need to go the old way. You need to go and download the setup and install the .NET framework, and .NET framework gets installed into the GAC, right? So that means that if I now try to go and compile this program, it would take the DLLs from the GAC, right? Okay, so that's one point to remember. So at this moment, we are not referencing .NET Core in the compilation. Now, in order to go and compile, the first thing what we need to do is we need to go and get the necessary files needed for our project, right? So for this program.cs file here, whatever are the necessary files we need to get, right? So for that we need to use DNU, that is the .NET utilities, right? Development utilities. So I'll say a DNU restore. Oh, again my antivirus, so let me go and disable that. Keeps coming. So DNU restore, Oh, what happened? Something bad happened. Not bad. Okay. If you ever come across such kind of issues, what I do is, which is a very bad thing, I will just go and delete all of these and I will take the fresh DLLs. So I will say a DNVM and that's it. Something happened wrong, right? So I'm just getting the new ones. Something went seriously wrong over there. So let me get the latest version. So there it is downloading. Actually, I think, when my antivirus runs, that antivirus screen which came up, I think he deleted my file. He thought that what is getting downloaded, and he deleted some file over there, and that's why I'm getting that DNX runtime error. I think so. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so now I will say DNU restore. This DNU restore, what it does is, just let me quickly check first if the runtime is there. Yes, it is. Okay, so I'll say DNU restore. Okay, there it is working. You can see that when I did a DNU restore, he did not get anything from online. Why? Because he saw this DNX 4.5.1 and he says, basically take all the DLLs from the GAC. You don't have to take from online. This thing is only applicable when you have core, right? And also, if you go to your folder, you can see that there is a project.lock over here. So we had project.json and we also now have project.lock. So we'll come to this. What is this project.lock? At this moment, just hold your breath. So this is good. Now I can go and also say compile. So I can say DNU compile. Or let me look at commands. Notes. DNU build. I'm sorry. DNU build. Frankly, I'm not good in DNU commands. Okay, so let me accept that. So DNU build. So if I do a DNU build, it actually builds my bin directory, you can see, and it also creates my DLL, right? So pretty much like our old .NET. But you can see that all this compilation is happening without Visual Studio. Getting of the new DLLs, compiling, everything is happening without the new DLLs, right? So basically you can see now with DNVM, I'm managing my .NET versions, what are there in my computer. With DNU, I can get the necessary packages, I can compile, and then with DNX, I can run. So with DNX, I can say DNX and run. So once I say DNX run, you can see that my program is running out here. And that's what exactly is my program.cs, right? So you can see without Visual Studio here. So it's running. Great, right? But in this program, at this moment, we have not utilized the .NET Core. We have utilized the old .NET DNX 4.5.1, right? So now we would also like to go and say that compile for .NET Core. So now let us go ahead and take the new framework, that is the .NET Core. So this was the old one, DNX 4.5.1. We need to now use the new one, the DNX Core. This is no more 5.50, it is 10. Okay, so I'm just keeping the same name for now, but remember that this is DNX Core, means it is referencing to the new one, and this one is DNX 4.5.1, which is referencing to the old one, right? So if you see now, I'm saying that use DNX Core as well as use the old .NET framework. So use both of them. So in other words, now when I hit compile, it will actually compile using both of the frameworks. So there will be two different kind of setups created. Okay. If you look at the DNX Core, over here we have specified dependencies. We are saying that if you look at a program or program.cs, So we have the console, right? So we are saying that, okay, use system.console and use this version, that is 4.0.0. Use Microsoft.C# and use this version. Now remember that for the core, you need to go and specify which namespace you will use and for which version. Why is it like that? Why didn't we do it for 4.5? Because in the new core, what they have done is, when they took this old setup and when they broke down the core, they broke down the core into more small pieces. In other words, let us say you have Microsoft.configuration, let us say, okay. So if you want to get JSON, XML, everything, you will say Microsoft.configuration, right? But now they say that if you want to just get JSON, then say Microsoft.configuration.json. So in other words, the new core framework is broken down into small pieces so that you can just take what you need. So that's why you need to go and specify the dependencies in this way, right? So I have specified the dependencies. So let us go back and say, first thing, GNU restore, right? This restore, what it does is it actually goes and it says that whatever are the dependencies, he tries to get them from online. Okay. For 4.5.1 he will not, right? But now for DNX core he will. So let me go and save this project.json. Yeah. And let me say GNU restore. You can now see that I will talk about the log file. He did not bring anything from online. Let us do a GNU build. Let us see. So in the build, he did build two setups separate, right? I'm just wondering that why he did not bring things from online. So let me go here to my DNX. Let me see in my packages. Oh, I already have things here. Okay. Let me again repeat this step because I want to show you something. Let me go and delete everything from packages here. And let me repeat that step. So let me go back here and let me say GNU restore, right? When I do a GNU restore, as I've said that he will go and get the necessary packages as specified in the project.json. So you can see now at the back end he's getting lot of packages which is related to the system. So you can see that because you said system.console, you can see that he brought system.console, he brought Microsoft.C# and all that, right? And all of these things, he has actually put it over here. So all of these packages, he has put it in the DNX folder in the packages. Remember, in the folder packages, we have packages like system.console, Microsoft.C#, while in runtimes, we have the frameworks. Okay, so both of them are different. Now, remember that these packages will be used by all your applications, which are running over here, right? And every package, every project, what is created, he won't need all the packages. For example, let us say I have a package, where I just need console, so he will just refer this, right? So in other words, every project will have their own references. They won't refer everything, right? So what they have done is, they have created a project.log.json file. This project.log.json file says that basically from this packages folder, what things he will reference. So you can see that he is referencing LinkU expression, he is referencing object model, he is referencing system.io. So basically this project.log just tells you in more in depth, which packages he is referring. And as I've said that every project will have its own separate log file, and it is very much possible that they won't refer all the packages. So this project.log.json just tells that this project refers which packages. Okay, great. So if you see now, when I did the build, he has created now two setups. He has created two binaries. One is for .NET Core for the old .NET DNX 4.5.1. and the other one is for DNX core, right? And one of the most interesting thing to see over here is that he did not create the exe, he is creating a DLL. And even for our old .NET, he is not creating a exe, he is creating a DLL, right? And whenever he wants to run it, whenever you want to go and run it, you have to use the dnx command. So whenever you want to run it, you have to say dnx run. And what this dnx does, he picks up the library, the compiled file, and then runs the code. Okay, so remember that dnx is a runtime environment. Okay, it is a .NET execution environment. So dnvm, the manager, to manage your libraries, your packages, your frameworks which are there on your system. GNU to get the DLLs, to get the references, to get things from online. So this is basically your NuGet, right? And to do compiling, and DNX to run. Okay, so you can see now I did this whole compiling, whole getting of the DLLs, everything I did by just using these three guys, DNVM, DNX and DNU, right? So now if you see, we are fully ready. We have different .NET Core for every operating system, and we have these three guys, DNX, DNU and DNVM, which will help us to compile code, which will help us to get the new packages without using Visual Studio. So that means my .NET from here can run on any platform, and I can code using .NET on any platform. But now when you talk about serious development, then you can't just do by using GNU and DNVM and all these command line utilities, right? You definitely need a IDE. So first let me tell you that whatever I've explained here is to make you just understand the fundamentals, so that you understand that how internally .NET Core works, and what is the whole goal of Microsoft to create .NET Core, and why they have created these three Ds, that is DNX, DNU and DNVM. But at the end of the day, you need IDE, you need things to do faster, right? In a project, let us say if you are creating an ASP.NET MVC application where you have hundreds of pages, you can't do by command line, isn't it? So if you want to do development in Windows, right, so you can go with your old Visual Studio. So go ahead and install Visual Studio 2015, the community edition, which is free. But if you are from Mac, Linux and from other operating system, then go with Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code, it is an editor, and this you can run on Mac and Linux, and you can do your development. So basically I'm a .NET guy. I have been programming for the past 15 years using .NET. So definitely I like Visual Studio. I love Visual Studio. So I'm going to go and use Visual Studio. So let us do like this. Whatever demo we have seen here by using the command line utility, let us see that how it looks when we see from Visual Studio. So let me go and open Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition. So let us do a new project. So in Visual Studio, everything is same what you have been doing till now. So whatever you create using 4.5 or 4.x version, right from 2.0 to 4.x is only for Windows. But if you see here this small tab here, the .NET Core, right, you can click on this and you can say okay, console application using .NET Core, and if I say okay, let us see the project structure. So the first thing is you will not find any kind of CS file, right? So if you remember, I said we do not have a CS file. All the configuration of the project is stored into project.json. So you can see here the first thing is let me go and open this in a folder. So let me open the project folder. So you can see here we have a x.proj and all these proj files here, but these are not really needed, right? So these are needed only because you have Visual Studio. You can happily go and delete them. But you can see now, you have the program.cs, you can see that you have the project, you have the project.log. So basically, you know, whatever I created by my bare hands, you know, those are already here, right? You can see that we have the project.json, there it is, and you can see that the project.json has a project log.json, which tells that this project uses which packages, right? So now let us say that if I want to go and reference something over here, you can see that in the framework reference he is referencing DNX core. But now let us say I want to go and reference something more, then I can't do this add reference, right? So what I need to do is I need to go and start typing here. So I'll say here I want to refer, let us say I want to refer Microsoft from the core. I want to refer let us say .NET host, okay, and next you need to specify the version. So I'll just say 1.0.1-RC2, right? Now when I do a save here, look at the solution explorer. You can see now when I do a save here, automatically you can see that he is doing a DNU restore. So you can see that when I saved here, automatically he restored the package and he is now referencing here .NET host. So remember that if I go and do a delete here and if I say save, you can see it is restoring. Remember, this command internally is nothing but it is doing a DNU restore, and you can see now that reference has gone off. So basically definitely you will use Visual Studio, you will not code by using a hand, right, the way I have done. But the whole point of explaining you the command line utility was to make you understand the concepts, right? So project.json, where you put your references, C# code is out here. Project.log.json to tell that this project uses which references, and then you have DNU, DNVM and DNX to do things. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. In this video, we were trying to understand what is the concept of this .NET Core 1.0, what has been launched, and what is DNVM, DNU, and DNX. Now, what my suggestion is, once now you know the concept, I would suggest to go and now watch the videos of ASP.NET Core, or I will say MVC 6, or if you wish, you can use the old name also, ASP.NET 5, right? So the official name is .NET 1.0 Core, MVC 1.0 Core, ASP.NET 1.0 Core. Previously, you know, they named it as .NET 5.0, but you know, they have again named it as .NET 1.0 because it is not the extension of 4.5, right? So it makes sense to rename it from scratch, because in this case, you know, we are actually starting from the core framework, isn't it? So we are not actually building on the top of 4.5. We took 4.5, we have downsized it, we have started from garbage collector, etc. So definitely it does not make sense to say that this is 5.0. So the name is 1.0 Core. On the top of it, we have ASP.NET 1.0 Core and MVC 1.0 Core, right? So I would suggest go to the Learn MVC section and go and watch MVC 6 video, you know, which actually uses .NET Core internally. Thank you so much. So now that we have understood the fundamentals of .NET Core, we have understood what is DNU, what is DNX, what is DNVM. Now let us go ahead and start with our ASP.NET Core training, and in case you are still having the hangover of MVC 6 or MVC Core, whatever, right? So let us start with our ASP.NET Core training. Let us see that what are the new features in ASP.NET Core. So the first thing is, if you want to do ASP.NET Core or the new MVC 6, you need to have the Visual Studio 2015. That is very important. So without Visual Studio 2015, it is difficult to do any one of these, right? So let us click on new project. So in new project, you need to go to the web, right? So you can see now, the time you go to the web, there are 3 templates which are shown before you. So this first template will help you to do the Windows development. That means your normal .NET. So the .NET which we are having till 4.5 or 4.6, right? So this ASP.NET Web Application .Framework here, what you see is nothing but your MVC 5. It is your ASP.NET on old .NET Framework that is still 4.5. So if you do OK over here, from here this will start all your ASP.NET 4.5, that is MVC 5 template, right? And I think we already have the videos on MVC 5. So in case if you want to learn this, then you need to go and follow all our video series of MVC 5, where we have covered MVC 5 with Entity Framework, with Angular, with SQL Server as a backend, and jQuery and JSON and so on, right? So in case you want to do this, this is nothing but your old MVC 5, ASP.NET 4.5, your old .NET Framework till .NET 4.5 or 6, right? But the time you say core, then you have 2 options. You can see that we have below, one is the ASP.NET Core, and then again we have ASP.NET Core. Now this ASP.NET Core here uses the pure .NET Core internally. So you can see that there is a .NET Core framework, and this ASP.NET Core actually uses the .NET framework of your Windows as well. That means till .NET 4.5 or 6. So basically, if you want to do this, then this is purely, you can see that when I click on this, at the right hand side it says project templates for creating ASP.NET for Windows, Linux, OS X using .NET Core. When I select on this, it is like using the .NET framework, that is the .NET framework till your 4.6. okay, so what I will do is I will create projects by both of them. Let us try to do that, right? So I will first create by using this, okay, because this is what the future is, right? This is like, I think it is more temporary, right? If they go on their vision properly, if Microsoft sticks to his vision properly, then this is what I feel that they should move ahead with, right? So let me do like this. Let me name this as ASP.NET Core, right? So now the next thing is we need to go and select the ASP.NET Core templates. So you can see that we have lots of templates here, like Web API, Web Application, and Empty. But one thing which is very noticeable here is you don't find the word MVC. You did not find the word MVC here, right? And even when I went ahead and I selected this, neither the word MVC is here. So what it means is that internally, if you're going to go and create an ASP.NET application using the Microsoft stack, it is going to be architected using the MVC framework. So that is understood, okay? So I think that henceforth they won't be putting this word MVC as anywhere. You can see at the right hand side, I can see that applications with example of MVC views. You can see that again here it is MVC views, but the template itself does not say MVC, so it is implied that internally MVC will be used. Now what I will do is, because we are creating the project from scratch, I would like to start from empty, because if we start from empty, then we can understand a lot of things, right? If I start from here, then a lot of things will be ready made, right? So let us go ahead and start from empty, and let us go ahead and press OK. So you can see that our project has been created. So that is the Solution Explorer, right? What I will also do is, let me go and add one more project. So let us add the project with ASP.NET Web, the .NET framework. So ASP.NET Core and .NET framework, right? So this is ASP.NET with normal .NET framework. So again, I'll select empty over here so that we can do the side-by-side comparison of both of these templates. So there it is. You can see this is ASP.NET Core. This is ASP.NET with normal .NET framework, right? So both of the things are there. Okay. First thing, what I will do is let me get rid of this. You can see that there is a project readme.html, so just a help file. So let me get rid of this. I'm going to go and delete this. So I'm also going to go and delete this, right? So one thing, which is very noticeable here is that which we already seen in the first part of the video, the first part of the training. You can see that there is a project.json file here. So this project.json file has all the references of your project, right? So in the previous part of the training, we talked about the importance of project.json and how things are working, right? So this is one file. So all your references of your project, which you were doing using the add reference here, henceforth has to be added via this project.json file. Okay, so if you want to go and add anything, you will go and say here comma, and so you can say here Microsoft. So I can say here Microsoft dot so if I want to add, let us say Microsoft.asp.net friendly URLs, okay, or let's say ASP.NET MVC. So I have to say here, and I have to say comma, colon, and then the version. For example, I'll say, okay, I want to stick to 1.0 core, so that means 1.0 RC2 final, right? So you can see here in the previous training section of the training, I was doing by using the command prompt, right? But because you are using Visual Studio, so it is like it is like walking on a mat, right? So here you don't have to do that DNU and DNX and DNVM, right? The time I do save here, Control S, you can see at the right hand side, watch my right hand side. Now I've done a Control S, and you can see at the right hand side it is restoring package. So this restoring package is nothing but like doing a DNU restore, right? So it will go, it will take the package from the feed, and it will actually try to apply it over here, right? So it will actually try to bring the ASP.NET MVC over here. So basically whatever things you were doing using the command prompt, Visual Studio is doing it for you, but it is very important that you understand internally what is happening. So that's why I kept one separate training section only for doing the DNU and DNX and DNVM, so that these things are not surprises for us. So you can see that it is doing a restoring package over here. So now you can see that it is taking a lot of time here. So if I go to the output here, you can see that it is trying to get something from online, but you can see that I made a mistake here. This is like ASP.NET Core and not like ASP.NET MVC, right? So let me make it ASP.NET Core MVC, right? So ASP.NET Core MVC, and let me save it. So you can see again he's doing a restore. Whenever I go and change my project.json file, Visual Studio automatically does a DNU restore. So I hope that this time it should fix things. Again, if you wish, you can go to the output, and you can see from where it is doing a restore, right? Taking time. So you can see that there it has added the ASP.NET Core MVC. Okay, but quickly, let us compare between these two packages. That's why I have added these two packages side by side. So first thing is, if you want to add the reference, you need to go and update your project.json file. This add reference does not work for .NET Core or ASP.NET Core, because this add reference uses your GAC, right? So that's why it is not at this moment compatible for the core. But let us go ahead and also do the comparison between the ASP.NET Core and the ASP.NET with normal .NET Framework. Remember, this top project here is .NET Core at the below and ASP.NET Core at the top. This bottom below is .NET Framework, that is your 4.5, and at the top we have ASP.NET Core. Okay, so in both the places we have ASP.NET Core, but the .NET frameworks are different in both the templates. So that's why you will see that over here all these DLLs or all these packages are NuGet. You won't see any kind of GAC here. But if you see for this one, ASP.NET with normal, you can see that there are some things which are coming from global assembly cache. So if you go to the properties here, you can see that this is referred from the GAC, right? So you will see that this ASP.NET with normal .NET framework, it has things from GAC, while for ASP.NET Core it is pure .NET Core. But now what we will do is I'm going to go and remove this ASP.NET with normal .NET framework, because what my understanding is that if I want to do ASP.NET with normal .NET framework, then it is like doing half, right? So half in .NET Core and half in .NET framework. I would rather than do the old MVC 5, right, or old ASP.NET 4.5. So my understanding is that, you know, this template is good, but rather than doing half, I won't do this, right? I would then stick to my traditional ASP.NET 4.5, MVC 5, and so on. So I'm going to go and remove this, and let us concentrate only on the pure ASP.NET Core and .NET Core, right? So let us stick to this thing at this moment. And also you can see that we have the project.json file and we have the project.log.json file. So this log.json file I have talked about in the previous part of the video, right? So everything what is happening via DNU, DNX, DNVM, everything is happening via Visual Studio now. So Visual Studio is using those three guys to use the core, right? Okay, now the first thing which you notice over here is that there is no global.asx file. So your old global.asx file, which was there right from the classic ASP, it is gone out from here, and we have something called as the startup.cs file. In the startup.cs file, you can see that we have two methods at this moment. I'll delete this, something I was doing. So we have two methods at this moment. We have configure services and we have configure, right? Let us concentrate on configure for now. So in configure, you can see that there is some code out here which says response.write hello world, right? So you can see that there is app.run, and then it is taking the context object and it's doing a response.write. So if I now go and run this application as it is, I will see a hello world. This configure method, what it does is it configures your request object. So what is this whole ASP.NET all about? This whole ASP.NET all about is taking a request from the browser or from a client and then sending a response, right? So you can see that over here in this configure, we go and we can catch the response and we can do something on it, like write or end the response and so on, right? So if I now go and do control F5, I should just see a hello world. So you can see that there my hello world is running, right? Again, if you're finding it difficult to understand this code over here, I know that for people who do not understand Lambda expression, this is a bit complicated. But if I go and replace this code like this, like app.run, and if I just say my response, right, do this. So that's what that code is, right? So that code over there was what it was doing is it was getting hold of the context object, and from the context object it was getting the response and it was writing asynchronously on it. Okay, so basically it was writing asynchronously. If you go and do a dot here, you know, you can see that let me go to W. You can see that there is only write async method. There is no write method, means there is no synchronous write here. So the response in MVC 6 or MVC core is written asynchronously. So in case you are not able to follow that code over there, so that code was doing nothing, but it was a task, you know, which was sent out. Okay, this task is nothing but it is that task parallel library. In case you are new to task parallel library, I will suggest you to go and watch the threading videos. So it was actually sending a task, and task is asynchronous, right? So it was writing to the response asynchronously, and this response was then run by the app, right? So that's what that code was with the lambda expression. So basically this configure over here, it does nothing but it actually configures the HTTP request, and as well as it can send the response as well. But definitely, you know, when we talk about response in web applications, it cannot be like hello world, right? It will be HTML, it will be a controller output and so on. So let me go and comment this out, and let us go and create a simple HTML page and just say hello. Now all your static contents, when I say like HTML, jQuery, CSS, right, they all go into this www root folder. So this www root folder is meant for HTML files, for jQuery, for CSS and so on. So let me go and add a HTML file over here. So I'm going to go and add an HTML here. I'll say add a new item, client side HTML. I'll just say hello. Right, and so I'll say this is hello. Okay. So now if I go and run this, so let me do a control F5. Let us see that if we are able to see the output. So I'll say control F5. So http localhost / hello.html. So I should be able to see the output by just putting a slash. Remember that I have not added any controller, I have not added any model, any view. One of the things, you know, which can come to your mind is that basically when we talk about MVC, it has to first hit the controller, right? But here in the MVC 6 or MVC core, what they have done is they have said that, okay, if you wish, you can use MVC, or if you wish, you can just avoid MVC completely, right? So over here, I can just go and hit a HTML page without a controller. So let me try slash hello.html. My keyboard is a problem. Asha. HTML, and you can see that I don't see anything. I just reload it. Don't see anything, right? So what is happening, right? So basically, the second thing, you know, which is very important to understand about MVC 6 or MVC core is that you know, if you want to do something, you have to use it. You have to add the reference of it. So nothing is automatic over here. In order to reduce the memory footprint, in order to reduce the size of the project, what they have done in MVC 6 or MVC core is that they say that if you want to do something, you need to go and refer that component. For example, if I want to do HTML, I have to refer the HTML components. If I want to do MVC, I have to refer the MVC components. If I want to do entity framework, I have to refer the component. Without referring the component, nothing will work. So now I want to go and display static component, right? So I have to first go to the project.json file. And over here, I will say that I want to refer, or I want to use static components. So I'll say here, Microsoft .ASP.NET ASP.NET core static files, and final. Control S. Let us do a restore. So that it is restoring the package. So remember that in the MVC core or ASP.NET core, you have to specify what you want. If you don't specify what you want, it won't work. So you can see that I can see my static files now being referenced here. So this will actually help me to render my static files. So I'll go here and say, okay, now that I have things, I'll say as services dot app dot use static files. So basically, if you want to use MVC, add a reference to MVC and say app.use MVC. Okay. If you want to refer a entity framework, add entity framework and say app.use entity framework. Now, one of the things which can come to your mind is that, isn't this too hectic? First thing, remember that I am coding from scratch, right? If you remember, if you go and use the second template, if I do a file new project, and if I go and choose one of these, then all things will be ready-made for me. So remember that at this moment, I'm doing everything from scratch, isn't it? So that's why I need to go and add it. But if you use those templates, then all these things are there. So, but what I want to do is, because we are learning MVC 6 at this moment, I want you to learn from scratch, right? So definitely when we actually go for live projects, we will not use this template, the core one. We will use the basic one. We will use the web API or the MVC one, right? But you can see now I have referred the static files. So let us do a Control F5. Let us see if this works. So remember, you refer MVC, then add MVC. You refer static files, then you add the static files. You refer entity framework and add entity framework. So without referring, things will not work. So hello.html. See, there it is. This is hello. Okay. I think one of the things which can come to your mind is that, isn't this becoming too complicated? But if you really ask me, it is good because now I'm referring only what is necessary. For example, if you remember in your old ASP.NET, that is in MVC 5, when I do a new project, everything was loaded at the start. So the size of the application on runtime was quite huge. But now here is a chance where I can say, okay, pick this, pick that. I can actually go and pick the necessary things rather than picking up the whole thing. So now let us go ahead and do some MVC. Let us create controllers. Let us create some views and models and so on, right? So again, the concept is not changing. You need those 3 folders. So I'm going to go and add a new folder here saying this is controllers. I will add a view folder. So add a new folder here saying views, right? So let us go and first add a controller. So I'm going to go and add a controller. So add a new item. And I will say I want to add ASP.NET MVC controller for now. So let us add home controller, right? Right. So there are some small changes you can see. For example, it is not action result, it is like action result, but I think these things are small. So let me go and add a view over here. So I'm going to go and right click and add a view. Oh, I don't see a add view. Okay, fine. So that means we need to go and add a view here. Remember that I'm doing everything from scratch, right? And remember the rules of MVC. If you want to go and add a view here for home, then you need to actually add it to the home folder. So I'm going to go and create a folder here saying home, right? And in this, let me add a view, add a new item. So let me add a MVC view page, like Razor view page, right? So something like this is a MVC view. Okay. And over here I will say return, you can say return index, or you can just leave it because the action result, that is the index, is the same as the view name, right? So I don't have to say here return view index, right? And again, remember, you have to add the reference of MVC and then use that MVC in your startup.cs, right? So in the project.json, if you remember, I had already added MVC. So you can see that I have referred ASP.NET Core MVC. Now in the startup.cs, I will say here app.use MVC. So MVC, right? Use MVC. Now remember that nothing is automatic here. So for example, like the routing part, if you remember in our MVC 5 we talked about routing. So here we need to go and specify a default route, or else this code will not work. So when you say use MVC, you need to go and say that, okay, default, you will use a controller name and action name. If you remember that, this whole routing we used to put in routeconfig.cs, but at this moment, I'm just giving it out here. But this is not automatic because I selected basic. So none of these are automatic, right? So I'm saying use MVC and use this configuration to configure my MVC. Also over here in the services, we have to say here services dot add MVC. So I will come to what exactly is this. I'll come to this thing later on, but for now just add MVC. I'll come to what exactly is a service, right? So we'll do that in the coming while. So let us run this application. So if I now go and hit home/index, I should get the output, right? So let me do a control F5. So let us see. So you can now see that if I want to run through the controller, I can go through the controller. If I want to run straightforward HTML file, I can run the HTML file. If you remember in MVC5, I need to always go via the controller, and it was very difficult to load the HTML file separately, right? So there it is. So if I say here /home/index, I should be able to see my views. Let us see. There it is, MVC view. So you can see MVC view is running via the controller, but my simple HTML is running separately, right? So HTML pipeline is separate and the MVC thing is separate. Okay. Now there are two important concepts which we need to understand when it comes to MVC6 or ASP core. One is services and one is middleware. So these two are a bit of a new concept. Let us start with services. So services are nothing but, they are classes or they are objects, which are injected in your controller, right? For example, now if this is a home controller, it is possible that this home controller needs a logger service. This home controller needs some kind of error handling mechanism. So there can be a lot of services or I'll say classes out there which you would like to use in your controllers, right? And these services you would like to inject, rather than creating an object, right? Now in case you are new to dependency injection and inversion of control, I would suggest to go and watch the design pattern section where we have explained, what is the importance of inversion of control, where we have explained what is the importance of dependency injection. So in this video I will not talk about it, but in case you want to go and inject objects in your controller, then you need to create a service, or then you need to use a class as a service. So for example, now let me go and add a class project. So let me go and add a new project here. Let us add a class library. Now remember that because I've selected ASP.NET Core, I cannot add class libraries using class libraries created in using 4.5, right, or the old .NET. So you can see I cannot select this. I have to select this, right? So I'll say now, let us say we have a service here called as exception handling, right? So this actually handles exception, right? So I'll say that, okay. Now in this, let us say that there are various ways of handling exception. For example, I can have exception handling mechanism wherein once the exception is handled, it actually throws it to an event viewer. So I'll say event exception handler, right? Or I can have something else, right? I can have event exception handler. I can have, let us say, once the error happens, I would like to use the file exception handler. So basically I have different ways of handling exceptions. So once the exception happens, there are various ways of doing it, right? And you can use any one of these ways in your MVC, right? So what I will do is, in order to just encapsulate or in order to just abstract things, let me create an interface here saying iException, right? And I will say here string handle, right? And both of these classes will use the iException. My mouse, sorry, my keyboard is really bad, right? And here also I'll say iException, right? So this will handle the exception and right. Implement interface. So here I'll say return event viewer. Here I will say return file. Okay, so one handles exception using the event viewer, the other handles exception using the file. Now again, if I want to go and refer this exception handling into the ASP.NET Core, I need to go and add the things into project.json file. So let us go here and I'll say that yes, I want to add one more reference, my exception handling class. So I'll say comma, I'll say exception handling, and I don't know which framework exception handling is using, so let us quickly check it. If you see this exception handling, it is using 1.5.0. Now this is funny. You can see that this guy is getting created in 1.5.0, right? And we are in 1.0, right? So what will happen now? So let us do like this. Let us go and just try to put RC final here, RC to final. Let us see what happens. Means the exception handling class is in a different, in a higher framework, and our ASP.NET Core is in a lower framework. So you can see that it is trying to restore the packages, but I guess we should see some warnings here. You can see there are some warnings here, yellow signs, and it says that you know what, this exception handling was greater than your RC2 final. Can you see that? So I ended up with 1.0. okay, so in other words, you know, he says that okay, in your MVC you are using the MVC project, you are using 1.0, and this guy is on 1.5. so let me fall back to a smaller version, right? So what we can do here is, just to get rid of this error, we can just say okay, 1.0 star. I don't know, this star should work. Let us see. So I'm just saying that whatever you find of 1.0, just fall back to it. Yeah, so there it is. So it is still that is gone, right? So you can see that so this is good, right? You know, like, think about it. In this project, in this ASP.NET Core, now I have multiple frameworks. I have some frameworks which are using 1.0 RC2 core, someone is using 1.50, and everything is working well, right? So basically your application can have multiple .NET frameworks if you wish. Okay, so good. So now if I want to go and use this exception handling class over here, I can just say here using exception handling, right? And over here then I can go and start using it. So I can say that start using file exception handler, or start using event exception handler, right? So I can go back here and say okay, start using event file exception handler, and start using event exception handler, right? And so on. So but the problem with this approach is that tomorrow if I add a new exception handler, then it will not work, right? You need to again go and change over here. So again, if something comes up, like let us say cloud exception handler, then again you need to go and change your controller. So that's where this dependency injection comes into picture. So what if I can do something like this? If I can say that okay, I'm going to go and have I will just refer in my home controller IException handler, right? So in my home controller, I will just say that I will not refer everything, but I will just refer to IException, right? And in this IException, whatever comes, I will use it. Okay. So somebody should come and inject the exception handler over here. And in the constructor, I can give the opportunity to say that, okay, from here, inject IException handler and give it to me, right? So we are talking about dependency injection here. So in other words, now we are saying that this exceptional handling class, we need to inject as a service. So we want to sometimes inject, sometimes we want to inject the event exception handler, sometimes we want to inject the file exception handler. And that's why, you know, in MVC6 or in ASP.NET Core or MVC Core, they have given an inbuilt dependency injection. And this inbuilt dependency injection is termed as a service. So what you can do in your startup.cs file, remember we had a method here called as configure services. So you can go here and say, so using exception handling, so I can go and say here services dot add that service. So add that service as a singleton. Singleton means a global object. So I'll come to the different flavors of how you can go and inject, but for now we'll just go and add a service which is singleton. So I'll say that in this IException, go and inject we had file exception handler, right? So we have different ways of doing injection. We have singleton, we have scoped, and we have other ways of doing it. So we'll do that later on, but for now I'm injecting a singleton object, a global object across my MVC project using this services, and I'm saying that inject the file exception handler. So what will happen now? So if I now go and run this in a debug mode, so let us go and run this in a debug mode. So because, you know, we have configured the service, automatically it will inject the file exception handler in the home controller, right? So let us see. So there my application is running in a debug mode. So let us press enter, and you can see now inside this he has automatically injected file exception handler. So basically in the startup.cs file we configured that inject file exception handler, and he has injected file exception handler. So in short, you know, services are nothing but, you know, they are objects, you know, which are dependency injected. Okay, we'll talk about services more in the second part of the video, because this video is becoming quite large now. So in the second part of the video we'll talk about that what are the different ways of injecting the services, right? So remember, we have two methods in startup.cs file. One is configure services. So in this configure services, you go and you add a service, and then you use that service in your controller, right? So you can see that this add MVC I added as a service, right? So services.add what you want to add, and then start using that service over here. Okay. Now there is one more concept. So one is a service and one is a middleware. So let us talk about what exactly is a middleware. So middleware is nothing but, you know, it is series of logic, you know, which you want to run in the request pipeline. For example, you can compare this middleware with your HTTP handlers and HTTP module. So if you remember HTTP handlers and HTTP module, it was nothing but, you know, it was some kind of a pre-processing logic, you know, which you want to run before you start executing things, right? So this middleware is nothing but the same concept. You know, in middleware you can have series of middleware, and these middlewares can have logic, and you would like to go and run those middlewares one after another. For example, now let us go ahead and add a middleware. So let me go and add a middleware. A middleware at the end of the day is nothing but a class. Okay, so middleware is not, the name looks very zazzy, but it's a class at the end of the day. So services and middleware at the end of the day are classes. So services are dependency injected, while middleware purpose is to run the logic as a pre-processing logic, you know, like a chain one after another. Okay, So let us go and add a middleware, and let me add a class. So I'm going to go and say add a new item, code, middleware. So I'll say now, let us say we'll create two middleware which will run one after another. One is authentication, right, and the other one is authorization, right? So let us add both of these middlewares. New item, middleware, authorization. Okay. If you go and see this middleware class, really, if you just go and see the authorization middleware class, it is nothing. It is a class which points to a next class. So you can see that, as I've said, that middleware is nothing but, it is series of logic which you want to run one after another. So you can see that there is authorization, and it says that, okay, which is the next class to run. You can see that this is authentication, and it says that which class to run, right? So basically, this middleware, both of these middlewares, can run one after another, and it can then go and invoke the next middleware what is there. Okay. So what I'll do for now is let me what we'll do is we will write to the context object. So let us go and write to the response object. So what I'll do is over here, remember we had, I'm going to go and comment both of them for now. Let us comment this thing for now. Okay. And let me go and activate my app.run, right? So app.run, I'll tell you why I'm doing this. So I'm just falling back to my old code and just disabling the code of MVC and static files, right? So now I want both of these middlewares to run one after another. So what I'll do is whatever you want to run, you have to write it in this invoke over here. So here I will say that in the HTTP context, in the response, just go and write this is authentication completed. Okay. And in the authorization completed, this is, and in the authentication I will write authentication completed, right? Okay. So so here authentication completed. What am I doing? Authentication completed, and here it is authorization completed. Good. So now in order to go and use both of these middlewares, I have to say here app.use authorization, use authentication. So basically the first thing what I need to run is definitely authentication. So I'll run this middleware first, and then I will say after that go and run the authorization middleware, right? And then run my response. Remember we had also done app.use MVC. So you can see that even MVC is a middleware for ASP.NET Core. Okay. So now what will happen over here is first authentication will run and then authorization will run. Let us see the output. So I'm going to go and do a Control F5. So middleware is nothing but it is series of logic which you want to run one after another like a method chain. And one more interesting thing, until the project comes up, you can see that this use authentication methods have come automatically. Why? Because these are extension methods. You can see that thing over there, extension, right? So there it is. You can see authentication completed, authorization completed, and then hello. So you can see first authentication ran and then authorization ran. And if you go and do something like this, for example, if I go and do like this, saying that, okay, authentication has failed, so to not run the next task, it will not run the next task. Okay. So if I go and comment this code out here saying do not run the next task, it will not. But you can see at this moment authentication is completed, authorization is completed. So both of these middlewares have ran one after another. So this ran first and this ran later on. So middleware is nothing but it is series of pre-processing logic which you want to run before sending out the response. So remember, services are dependency injected, while middleware, they help you to run pre-processing logic before you send the response, or in the request pipeline they help you to build a chain of pre-processing logic. Also, one more very important change which you will see in ASP.NET Core is that the way you read the configuration data. Till now, your favorite place to put configuration data was the web.config file, right? But now they have made it more general. They are saying that, okay, you can put configuration wherever you want to put. Okay, so you can put configuration in an XML file, you can put configuration in a JSON file, you can put configuration in environmental variables. So wherever you wish, you can put configuration. So for example, now let me go and add a new config.json. So basically I want to go and add some configurations, right? So I'll add a config.json, right? In this config.json, what I'll do is I will add this simple key here called as key1, and it has value called as value1, right? And I want to go and read this configuration data in my project, right? So in my controller or in my startup.cs, I want to go and read this configuration data. So in order to go and read the configuration data, what you need to do is you need to first go and use the configuration builder. So basically we have a configuration builder here which is in the microsoft.extension.configuration. Now in order to use the configuration builder, you need to first go to your project.json file. So you need to go to your project.json file and you need to refer the configuration. Now the good thing here is that at this moment, if you see, I'm saying that my configuration is in my JSON file. So what I can do is really I can go and I can just say that use the DLL of JSON. If you remember in our previous ASP.NET, I have to say like system.configuration and everything comes into that, right? So even though if I'm not using let us say text files to read configuration, still it is there, right? But now here you can see I'm saying okay, microsoft.extensions.configuration.json, right? So I can say .json. If you see here, I can say read from environmental variables, read from INI files, read from XML, read from command line and anywhere, right? So we will do a separate video on how to read this configuration, but for now I will take the simplest one, JSON, and I will say use this. So let us restore the package. You can see the package is restoring. Remember, whenever you add something new to project.json file, it restores the package, right? So I'll go to my startup.cs and over here I will create an object of configuration builder, right? And I need to now go and set the path, set the path of the JSON. We have to say that, okay, where is this JSON file at this moment? So you can see that I have got the configure object. So I will say here, set base path, to my current directory, right? To my current input output directory. And then we will go and we will add the JSON file. So then we will build our configuration by adding the JSON file. You can see configure.add.json. In case you are also building from different sources, you can say configure.add from environmental variables, configure.add INI files, right? So this add JSON file is going and taking data from the config.json, right? And now I can go and read my key1 value in my code. So remember in our config.json we had key1 value 1, right? this name is wrong here, config. So let us rename this config. Right. So again, this is a big change. Basically, your configurations now no more actually come from webconfig file. If you want, you can take from webconfig file, but they have made it more configurable. They say that okay, you can take from JSON, you can take from INI, you can take from environmental variables, you can take from any place you wish, right? So let me go and put a debug point here. Let us or we can just display this str1 right somewhere, or we can, okay, at this moment let me put a debug point. Let us see what happens. So there it has come into the configure. So, and you can see that now our configuration data is read from the config.json file, right? So again, a big change, right? Our old web.config file is going out, and this is good actually, because that old web.config file only IIS understood it. Only IIS knew how to read the configuration. But tomorrow if I say okay, if I want to go and host this on Apache web server, or if I want to go and host this on some other place, on some other environment, hosting environment, then this is difficult, right? So basically, by decoupling the web.config file from ASP.NET Framework, I think it is a good move. Now I can have any kind of hoster. So I can have a hoster which is IIS, I can have a hoster which is Apache, and they can define the configuration wherever they wish, and I can handle it. So I think decoupling of the configuration file from the hosting environment was important, and they have achieved it. Now, one of the goals of ASP.NET Core was that to run on any platform, we can develop on any platform, and also we can host on any platform. So in other words, if I want, I can host ASP.NET inside IIS, and tomorrow if I wish, I can host ASP.NET inside Apache or some other web server, right? So what they have done in this project is, they have for testing purpose, or I can say to solidify or to convince you, they have created a nice web server here called as Kestrel. This Kestrel is a lightweight web server only for testing purpose, and you can see that if you wish, you can host this application inside Kestrel. So you can see over here, you can run using IIS, or you can run using your project, that means ASP.NET Core. That is the name of my project. And if I do this, then this will actually go and go to this program.cs file, and from this program.cs file, it will actually go and run this Kestrel web server and host your application. So if I do a Control F5 now, you will see that the program.cs file will start. He will actually go and start a console application, and that console application is nothing but the actual Kestrel what is running. So there it is. You can see that this is Kestrel running here, and you can see that the Kestrel is now hearing to 5000 port, and our application is running. But if you wish, you can always go and comment this code out. So this, remember that the Kestrel is only for testing purpose, so I can always go and just comment this out and use only IIS, right? So remember, use Kestrel, use content root, use authorization, use authentication. All these are middleware. At the end of the day, all these are middleware. So if I wish, I can go and comment this code out, and I can just run inside IIS Express, right? So this code will still work. So again, everything is aiming to that goal, to that main goal, that we want to run anywhere, we want to use any platform to code, and we want to host inside any other platform, right? So moving towards more independent mode of working. So again, this should run. This should not be a problem. So we'll stop in this video at this moment, I know that the training has not finished till, but this video has gone almost like 2 hours. And so what we'll do is, let us go and create one more part of this video. And in that part of the video, what I'll do is I'll start taking small topics around this ASP.NET Core. So one of the topics which I want to cover in detail is about the dependency injection. So if you remember, in the services I added singleton, but there are other ways also of adding services. You can add as scoped, right? You can add as also you can add as transient. So let us understand that what is the difference between adding as a transient or injecting as transient, as scope, and as singleton. So the next video will talk about dependency injection using the services of ASP.NET Core.